Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of EdTech on the Street in the city that never sleeps. Today I am joined by a Vice President of Workforce Learning and Skills, Tom, in front of the beautiful Belvedere Castle on this springy day. How are you today, Tom?
I'm doing great. I mean, this is the weather we've been waiting for all winter.
Yes.
The cherry blossoms are out. It is an incredible time to be in New York City.
Yeah, it's the cherry blossom season. I'm so ready for it. Personally, ready to take all of the walks with my dog around here. So
Right.
it'll be good. Well, we're going to jump right into it because I have a set
Sure.
of questions for you that I'm really excited to jump in and get
Great.
your thoughts on. So starting with our first question, you've spent your career at the intersection of learning and workforce outcomes. What's one thing about workforce learning most people still get wrong today?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. So I don't think that when most people think about workforce learning, that they think about all the creativity and all the passion that goes into that. They think about good jobs, they think about good pay, they think about hard work, and that's all true. But if you talk to somebody who's in one of these careers and successful, there's a real passion for what they do, and it's at some level as much of a calling as any kind of profession. You know, for example, if you're in healthcare, there's usually a great story involved about how the learner got excited about the career because they saw one of their family members, a friend, maybe even themselves, be helped by a healthcare worker and say to themselves, I want to do that. This is important work. And the same is true, among all the different trades, that there's something about that problem solving that really pulls out emotions from learners.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the healthcare statement. As someone who also had interest in going
Right,
into the medical
right.
field, it was the personal experiences that helped encourage and push me to explore that industry. And I feel that once we have the passion associated with the workforce skills and the learning that comes with those curricula, we really start to see the impact, not just one finding fulfillment in their jobs, but also the wanting to keep learning and growing.
Absolutely.
Which leads me into my next question. If I stopped someone on the street in New York City, or in this case, Belvedere Castle, and asked them what workforce learning means, what do you wish they would say?
I wish that they would acknowledge that at some level, every successful person is a workforce learner, is a workforce practitioner. I wish that we could get beyond this idea that there are a certain set of jobs that are different from other jobs. It's all about, what does society need? How are we fulfilling them? Do you have the skills to meet the moment? So I would hope that people on the street over the next several years start to realize that it's all the same, and that we have to think of what we're trying to do in our professions as, how are we helping move society forward? What is the need of my local economy, and am I fulfilling that? And that's a little bit out of the standard, but I think that's important to not differentiate and say, well, there's one type of student here and another type of student there.
Yeah. Do you feel that still society likes to lump workforce learning or skills as a term with a certain
Sure.
industry? And if so, what industry usually do you see?
Sure. If you're in healthcare, you're a workforce learner, but somehow not if you're a doctor. That doesn't make sense to me. If you're in tech and trades and doing that work, that's essential work, but it's also the same problem solving that goes into engineering. So I think trying to differentiate between the two is going to become more and more problematic.
Yeah, I think
A little bit of a hot take there.
I was gonna say, everyone knows I like my hot takes, so that was really insightful, and I like the clarification for that. Next question. What's one skill that's massively undervalued right now, but will be critical in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I'm going to give you two skills. I think it's leadership and critical thinking. And I say that because as AI evolves and becomes more sophisticated and we use it more, we're essentially taking on a team if we're using AI.
Right.
And so, as we're getting more and more information thrown at us, we have to be in a position to make critical thinking judgments, validate that information, make sure it's accurate, retrain the AI bots that we're working with so that they learn as we're going along. And I think if we continue to think of oh, well, I'm a lone practitioner in any particular field, that we're not going to be successful that way. I think we have to grasp that is the future, that we are being called on to be leaders and be critical thinkers.
100%. I kind of knew internally, I was like, we're going to have to talk about AI around this one.
Absolutely.
But I've also heard, and maybe you can comment or not on this one, from a recent conference in terms of how we have AI agents working under the human, but potentially in the future, humans working under an AI agent, and what that means for leadership skills, critical thinking, and that shift in workforce.
Well, at the end of the day, there's still a human that's trained that AI agent. So the AI agent in that sense is kind of an intermediary between somebody at a higher level or somebody in a different role, then communicating that information back to another human being. Again, still has to be validated, still has to think critically about the information that they're getting. But that loop has to be closed with the humans who set up that AI agent in the middle. As a funny aside, today is April 1st, so April Fool's Day.
Oh, yeah.
And the president of SUNY Ulster Community College put up a LinkedIn post today where she announced a new admissions program for AI bots. And went through the whole thing about the classes they were going to take and what they were going to charge the bots.
That's funny.
Very cute.
As a marketer, I appreciate that. Yeah. So funny. Well, continuing on this more futuristic outlook and conversation, what's one prediction you had that most people in EdTech would disagree with?
What's one prediction? Wow.
Yeah.
I think we have a pretty good sense of where things are going. But I suspect that the future is actually going to be more positive than we imagine that it is.
Oh, that's good.
I think that there is real worry that the job disruptions that are going to come from AI over the next couple of years are going to be massive, and I'm not sure I agree with that. I think how we work is going to have to change. I think we're going to have to adapt. But I don't think any of the advantages that we can get from artificial intelligence will manifest unless we bring everybody along to show how appropriately this can help them.
I like that. Another kind of hot take against
what
people are saying in the forums. I like it.
I think we've got a pretty good sense of what we think the future is going to look like, and maybe we'll all be wrong. I just take a more optimistic view of it.
Yeah, love it. Always positive energy.
Absolutely.
Well, let's keep it going maybe then for our last question. What does workforce learning look like in 2030 if we get it right?
If we get it right, and I remain hope-filled that we will absolutely get it right. I think it's going to be incredibly agile in terms of aligning what students are learning to local workforce needs. In other words, if we get this right, when we get this right, we'll be able to build programs as rapidly as the local economy changes. And there will be much more communication between local employers, regional employers, and the institutions that are serving those students and acting as the infrastructure for that. I think that is absolutely what has to happen, and I'm convinced that it will, because those are the conversations that I'm having right now with my clients.
I like that. It's so positive, and in a positive way with the integration and intersection of AI into the workforce. So I like that, because I feel a lot of people are still a little bit more into the negative, mindset,
Right.
and all of us still scared. So hopefully they're
Right.
feeling a little bit more positive after this conversation we're having. But before we close out our episode, is there any final words, tips, advice, tricks you'd like to add for our listeners today?
Sure. I think recognizing that there is a lot of work ahead of all of us, and being open to asking for help is absolutely essential. I just came back from a conference where the word that I kept hearing over and over again was capacity, meaning that the institutions that I was meeting with don't have the capacity to do all of the things that they know that they need to do, that they're capable of doing. And being open to working smarter, to bringing in partners to help with that, and recognizing that that's not a burden on an institution. It's actually a benefit to bring in partners so that you can accelerate, bring in more learners, open new programs, better serve the students in your region. That would be the advice that I would give.
Very well said, and also another positive note. So I think that's a great way
Absolutely.
to end our conversation. I'd like to thank you so much, Tom, for coming on our
Thank
channel and joining me in front of Belvedere Castle on this very warm spring day.
It's a very warm spring day. If you haven't been, you really need to visit.
Yes.
And there's an incredible view from the top.
Yeah, I gotta check it out, and plus the Shakespeare Theater right below it.
Absolutely.
So could go see some Shakespeare and Belvedere Castle in one go. To our
All free.
All free. That's right. Even better. So thank you again to our listeners for tuning in. I hope we were able to learn something from our discussion today. Be sure to check out the rest of our channels of EdTech Connect, Innovators in Conversation, Educator Insights, Tech and EdTech, and lastly, our new up-and-coming discussion point, Women in EdTech. Remember to stay curious and stay positive. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.